Hello, everybody. Thank you for coming to our fireside chat.
This feels like the first episode of a podcast.
Where do you want to begin?
From the very beginning, a very good place
12
to
years ago. This is our birth video for our firstborn son, August Coleman, who was born 4 weeks ago tonight.
Yeah.
28 days ago.
Honestly,
Come here.
I'm not joking when I say...
Look at this 28-day beautiful mom right here.
Oh, that just reminded me to suck in.
Me too. I wish your breastfeeding burned off my belly.
I'm not joking when I say it feels like it's been approximately 8 to 12 days.
Yeah?
It does not feel like it's been a month.
6 months in. Every day feels like 3 days to me.
What?
Yeah.
It is going by so fast for me. And, well, I guess that's kind of the same. Like I told you yesterday, I was upset that we hadn't recorded this video yet because I feel like I've already forgotten everything. Like my brain has just become a pool of Jell-O. And it's going to be like serious retrieval for me to try and remember our whole birth story. But that's why I wanted to tell this story on camera, because I want to remember it. You know, I want to be able to remember it. This is one of those selfish
thing for us,
yeah,
and voyeuristic for everybody else who's watching, which is fine. I'm sure August is never going to want to watch this, but maybe. We didn't always...
Do I have broccoli in my teeth?
No, you're good. Are you good?
No, you look good.
There it is, folks. Look, we didn't always want to have kids, but we weren't ever heavily against it. I don't think we ever were like, no kids ever. We kind of just joked around that life was pretty good, dual income, no kids.
Stinks.
Now we are single income, one kid. Sink.
Soink.
Soink.
Oh, man. Yeah, I mean, I think we probably were, just felt like we could go either way, but it's hard to make a change so massive when you don't feel like very strongly convicted about it.
You know why I didn't feel strongly convicted about it? Because of all of the things that we had to do to get to where we are.
Yeah.
We lived before, when we dated, we primarily lived in a 550 square foot studio.
650, not that extra 100 square feet counts.
The extra 100 square feet was like old magazines of yours. So it was really livable space. It was
itty bitty, our tiny, cute, tiny little incubator.
I'm broke. You're doing okay, but how are we supposed to bring a baby into this world when we're worrying about those things? I think millennials reflect that because there's a reason why everyone, has plants, because you can afford plants.
Yeah. The birth rate is low. It's not something that they really talk about. It's not something that you would know here in Nashville because the birth rate is exceedingly high here in Nashville. But in general, I think our generation is waiting a lot longer to have kids. For exactly those reasons. There's a lot of delay in those milestones that our parents and previous generations achieved earlier.
Yeah, and it's no surprise that we sort of started to think about having kids once we knew we could afford to have a child. Your parents weren't necessarily young when they had you, but you were the firstborn. My mom was pretty young and single mom.
She was a decade younger than I am.
Yeah.
A decade is. And
but I didn't want to do raising kids the way my mom had to. And a lot of people have to, which is you coming home from work, there's a lot of resentment and bitterness. And I wanted it to be what I think it could be, and I think what it is so far, which is the tribe's growing. We're a team. We're all here. We're all a part of it. And when the timing was right, which it was, things happened fast.
It sure did, huh? This year has been a whirlwind.
1 year ago, we were probably we could probably have a baby.
What month is it?
June.
It just turned June.
One year ago.
So we were just kind of we could maybe,
start
thinking about it.
I think your gynecologist was like, you've got time. then looked at your age and was like, but not much.
he was like, oh, you're young, you've got time. And he opened up my folder, and I think looked at my date of birth, and he was like, no, you don't. He was like,
and maybe you do, but also,
well, he doesn't want to steer you the wrong way.
It's, I mean, it's science that the longer you wait, the more challenges could present themselves. And when you surprised me with the pregnancy test, I just couldn't even fathom it.
But you weren't, I mean, it surprised you. I mean, we talked about it. I went off my birth control.
Yeah, but there was no mention of like, maybe there was just like all of a sudden, here it is. And
well, it was literally like our first month. You want to get that dog? Are you going to be able to hear that?
No. He's fine. Dog's in the background singing. Baby's asleep.
But we had talked about it. We had, okay, maybe it's time to start. We kind of had in our heads that it would probably take, 5 or 6 months, maybe longer.
And if you asked the practical side of me, I still would have liked 2 years. Because we still were living from, not in the 500 square foot, the 700 square foot. We upgraded. So we're still in a 700 square foot apartment. We can hear our landlord's cell phone alarm in the morning and vice versa. And chances are they heard us procreate the way things are working. And no stage fright. And so it's like, that's not a place to have a baby. And so at least once we did find out we were pregnant, it was like, okay.
I think neither of us really expected it to happen so quickly.
You think you're pregnant?
But.
And even then, it was like, well, are we testing wrong? Is this an actual pregnancy? And then, as the vlog channel has seen, we got that confirmation pretty quick.
The doctor said, we have a little baby.
A
little, what did he call it? Not a bean.
Peanut.
A peanut. We have a little peanut.
Congrats, honey. You did it. And, your doctor's so sweet. He's like, that's the baby. And I'm like, oh. It's crazy. And then the stresses and worries about how he's going to do in there. And it's a lot of things that you have to...
The stress starts day one.
Yeah, change your diet.
And never stops.
No potholes, driving careful. Yeah, and then it got more and more real as like you wait the 10 weeks to 12 weeks. We waited a little longer for our family and probably told them at like 16 weeks or something. I mean, you were pretty pregnant when they...
Yeah, well, we wanted to tell them in person. Like, we really wanted to tell people in person because it's so special. And living 3,000 miles away from everybody meant that like we had to really plan. So we made a trip and we told everyone.
And I think just about everyone was shocked. Just about everyone. We got your parents. I think we got my parents pretty good. I think my sister had a hint because she's a little, snoop. I knew it. She's all right. But everyone else we got. And yeah, that was great. And then it just became, what are we going to do? So fast forward, we moved here.
Yeah.
We moved to Tennessee. Purely on really, like, we wanted a home. We spent so much time at home, content creating, living, it's like we need a place. Couldn't get that where we lived. And we got here only a couple months before the baby came.
Yeah.
You're about 6 months pregnant when we got here.
7.
Yeah. And it was still, in hindsight, I think you mentioned this, some of the most traumatic things you can do, not making light of anything, but like complicated things are moving, having a baby, weddings.
It was things that are like
stress.
The most stressful thing for your marriage are like having a baby, moving, buying a house, like all of those things are like, yeah, they're high stress.
I think we kind of work better
pressure on
sometimes
you.
when we know there's stress. It's kind of like sometimes you get lazy or something sneak up on you, but I think when it's like all hands on deck.
We both operate well under pressure.
Yeah.
I think like procrastinators to the core, I'll put it off forever if I can, but that final 12 hours, ooh, I'm in business.
And that's how we were in the pregnancy. So yeah, and not to feel guilty, but there was a delay with a lot of things we needed to do when we moved here. There was a delay in, finding a doula. We found a doula a week before, really.
2 weeks.
Hypnobirthing classes were like crash courses.
Yeah.
But would we have delayed it that far if we stayed in LA? Probably not. We were literally spent the first 2 months here trying to find furniture.
Yeah. No, I think the reason everything was so delayed was just because we were operating at like, what's the highest priority? So when we moved, it's like, find a new health insurance or buy new health insurance or figure it out. Find a new doctor, like make your appointment. Like everything was like tackled in priority order. And we literally didn't have any furniture. So that's step one. Building a nursery is halfway down the list. And then all of the sudden it was coming time that we're like getting closer to the due date. And it's like, oh my gosh, like we haven't even taken like a birthing course. We don't even, we knew what hospital we were going to deliver at. But
we still don't even really have a packed diaper bag. Like the diaper bag's still like
very bare bones.
Makeshift packed.
Every time we go out, we don't have something we need. No birth cloth, no pacifier. But we're figuring it out.
I think in the age of social media, we did get educated in different ways with short form content, tips, things like that.
Yeah.
So
School of Instagram, new babies 101.
We were also banking on the fact that you were going to give birth late. As far as like, first baby isn't delivered until a week later. And I was just like, oh, please.
Yeah.
Because when you thought you were going into labor, which turned out to be massive kidney stones, we definitely didn't have a bag packed. And that was like a 5 a.m. wake up call.
I think we had the car seat installed, right? Like we had already like sort of, I saw a video that was like the 37-week prep checklist, and we had done 0 of them. And
I did the car seat, and that was pretty easy.
Yeah, we put the car seat in, but that's like the one thing that you like have to have. Like you can't go to the hospital without a car seat.
Yeah.
It's nice to have your hospital bag packed, but like, that night we literally just threw the basics in a bag and went. Like,
and you're putting together like the bassinet, being like, I don't know how to use this. Sure, you're building it, you're learning, but like it's not the instruction manual. It's like, what do you do with the kid now? Like, no, okay, yeah, I can learn how to put it together, but now the child has to go in it. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, you're like testing it with a bowling ball.
And I know we sound like complete morons, but you don't consume this knowledge until you need it. And I've never had to worry about putting a kid to sleep. So yeah, life happened fast. If there's any sort of spiritual thought to this all happening fast, not to put you on the spot, but what would you think? Like, what do you think about just the massive amount of green lights to get here?
Everyone
right now?
who watches your channel or our channel consistently has heard me say this 1,000 times, so they're just gonna roll their eyes. But literally our mantra for probably coming up 2 or 3 years now has been all in perfect timing, right? We just have told ourselves, like when we were so disappointed that like we couldn't get a house in LA and all this stuff, it's like, don't worry, it's all gonna happen in perfect timing. Like if it's not
like
happening right now, it's
failed.
because someone's looking out for us. And it ended up being that way with the house we put the offer in on that we didn't get.
I'm so glad
this
we didn't
house
take
is
that
so
house.
much better.
We cried over it.
I was so disappointed, but sometimes it's a blessing in disguise when things don't go the way you want them to go, because there is a better option. There's another door that's going to open for you that's better for you, just right behind this.
Boy, but that optimism is tough to have. We failed
1,000
for a
times.
long time.
1,000 times. Yeah. But that's why it was so important to me to make that my mantra. I don't know if you really use that mantra, but for me it really means something, because I had to tell myself, and I do believe that kind of stuff, is real. People think it's so woo-woo, but like I do think that like your mind informs the rest of you, and in turn like informs your experience.
My mantra was, isn't it great that everything's working out, which is pretty much the same, but it's just like, it's like the encouraging, like, hey, it's like speaking it into your reality, because as far as like energy is concerned, you have to believe it and be a part of it. So like we really had to love. I mean, we didn't move out of that 500 square foot apartment until we renovated like the windows.
Yeah.
We literally like recaulked things that, you know, all the water damage, and painted all these walls, and we moved within months. But that was like, hey, you better really love this. Oh, you love that? Here, you'll love this too.
Yeah.
And it's like just this idea of, we could have wallowed in that rent-controlled place. It was a prison to some extent. I'm going to bring the dog in.
You have to. He's driving me nuts.
Yeah, optimism is kind of like blind faith. And in order for us to bring a baby into this world, I think we just needed to be set up in a place where we felt like we were doing it for reasons that we could control. At least control the part where we're not going to be stressed in the middle of the night because Timmy has to go to camp. Not named Timmy, but...
No, I know what you mean. Like, we weren't going to have kids if we didn't feel 100% prepared. You and I are the same in that way. We're like...
And we're not going to be prepared.
But have at least set up our nest and feel, you know, confident. Like, when I got my dog, I had to feel confident that I could swing a vet bill. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you want to make sure that you have your nest prepared.
So the ultrasound visits were fun because we did food rewards. You know, we made like little fun things out of it. So those weren't even like real. It was kind of, you know, you could still be a normal person. You were barely showing, and you know, we had cute photos. And then I feel like it got real when you started feeling your discomfort and things like that. But talk to me about the final moments before like delivery, the final days.
Well, maybe it was, I don't really even recall if I felt like super pregnant. Like, I definitely felt super pregnant, but not like, it was, you know, we were out here walking in the neighborhood one night and someone said to me like, oh my gosh, in those final weeks, like I couldn't do anything. Like, you know, was surprised that I was out walking like past our due date. And so I don't think I felt like really completely, what's the word I'm looking for? Just like out of commission. Yeah. I never really felt that way, but I did feel like very pregnant those final 2 days. And I had some of those,
Your job, though, was being on your feet all the time. So I wonder if that helped you. That you were kind of used to being on your feet.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
So we made a video on Cinco de Mayo, kind of just hanging out and waiting. And my thoughts of that video were going to be just a whole bunch of like, you know, kind of like, it's raining outside. We're just nothing to do but wait now. But that was kind of the vibe. I mean, at the last week or two, we were ready to go.
Yeah, we were pretty ready. I mean, I still was grateful for each and every one of those last days because I was still trying to like mentally prepare, and there's always something to do. But yeah. I mean, it's almost like, for me anyway, when I was waiting, it was like I knew it was coming, but it still was a little surreal in a way.
I was just gonna say
it's like
that.
You know that we're about to have a baby, and like even when it was like our due date, and like
kind of
all
like the
the
wedding,
days
right?
after.
Like the wedding was kind of like, oh my gosh, it's really here.
Yeah, like
you
it's
plan
really
for the wedding
here.
about as long as you plan for the babies. You know, pregnancy-wise, it's about.
But also because everything on the other side is completely unknown. You know what I mean? We've never done any of this before. So we got our test run of the hospital when I had my kidney stones. But, you know, it's like, I don't know what labor and delivery is going to be like. I don't know what contractions are going to be like. I don't know what all this stuff is going to be like. I don't know what a baby is going to be like. You know, so all of it is just like, you're like waiting, but it wasn't really like a whole lot of anticipation necessarily because I didn't really know what I was waiting for.
They just tell you, you're
know what a
contraction is.
You're just kind of like in a limbo.
The night of Cinco de Mayo, May 5th, 2024. There's that moment. I think we
were in
fall
bed.
asleep.
It was like probably 11:30 when I realized, oh, these are contractions.
Yeah, you were like, I don't know if I feel good.
Yeah, I think I probably was feeling like, I don't know, maybe just like a little crampy or something. But I had already had 2 days of early labor symptoms, right? I had lost my mucus plug. I had some bloody show. So like we knew it was coming up soon, but it was also happening really slow. Like that had been a couple of days. And so you're like, okay, sometimes this last 4 days, like when this, oh, my boobs just turned on too. I forgot what I was saying.
Well,
but yeah, so then all of a sudden I'm laying there and I'm like, man, this really hurts. And then it went away and then it came back and it was like, oh, this hurts again. I was like, wait a second.
So we get the contraction app going, but at some point I was like, honey, like the logistical side of me, I am such an assistant director in the sense that I'm like bottleneck. We need to be here at this time. We need to leave. If we have a 7 a.m. flight, we're going here. And I was like, if we're going to the hospital, I need to go sleep. Oh no, did I go to sleep after?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we had round 1 and round 2.
All right, so round 1, I didn't sleep.
Round 1, you didn't sleep. We tried to sleep. I maybe got a half an hour, hour.
Because they say go to sleep if you can.
They say if you can sleep through it, sleep through your contractions, like go to sleep. Try and sleep through it. That first phase can be really long.
But also, we're getting the bags ready. We're getting everything ready.
So,
because we didn't just have the bags. You had the yoga ball, pillows.
Yeah.
A cooler for the placenta.
It really was like a whole car full of stuff that we needed.
We looked like we were going camping. What's in the cooler, neighbor? Well, the placenta will be.
But
And the app said, all right, the app said you should go to the hospital right now.
Well, our doula and like our birthing courses had told us like wait until, and people said different things, 311 to 511, but our doula told us 412. It was pretty much like we were gonna go in the middle with 411, which is contractions 4 minutes apart, lasting a minute or longer for over an hour. But our doula said 4 minutes apart, lasting a minute for over 2 hours. So that's what we did. But yeah, I only got like maybe an hour of sleep. You probably got none. I mean, we practically got no sleep because we were just like, okay, what are the things that we need? And like, I was just kind of trying to manage my contractions and like do all of the things that.
And this was so different than the week earlier. You went in thinking you were in labor, but it was kidney stones.
Yeah.
And when you went in,
that
was also like at
pain.
a 5 a.m. and you went in like in tears, and you like got their attention. They're like, oh man.
Yeah.
And then they quickly realized you're not dilated at all. This isn't it. And then they found out what it was.
Yeah.
So now we almost had like a dry run from the previous week.
Yeah.
So we knew, all right, 28-minute drive, gotta go, and it's like go time, and we pack the bags and we go.
Yeah, and we did exactly that. We waited until it was 412 and it was in the morning.
We start calling people.
We did.
Which they tell you not to do because you're going to jumpstart the gun and get people excited, but who cares? We're like,
and they also say like you don't want to like upset like the natural rhythm of your labor either. Like when your labor starts and you're in your home and you're comfortable and you're in a cozy familiar environment, and then you get in the car and you start calling people and people are excited and squealing, and
right,
it gets the adrenaline
cuts off
going.
The oxytocin.
Yeah, which can stall your labor. But we felt pretty good going into it. Like I felt pretty good. Like the contractions were definitely there. They were, 412, but I wasn't like in excruciating, it was managed. It was well managed. I was like cheery when we got in the car. It's like, okay, here we go. Bags are packed. Here we go. It is pretty intense, but we're hanging in there.
It is 4 a.m. So Boone's excited. He's barking because he's about to be a big brother.
He made to be a big brother. He nervous. He doesn't understand yet.
And I call our doula, and she goes, "It doesn't sound like you're ready to go to the hospital yet. And I was like, but it is 412. So, we'll see. We'll go there and check it out. And basically you go into, what's it called, like triage, where they do like the initial checks, and then they determine whether or not you can be admitted to the birthing center, because you have to be 6 or 7 centimeters dilated to be admitted. And so we already knew that there was a small chance that I might not be ready to be admitted yet. Maybe we're only going to be 5 centimeters and they're going to tell us to walk around the block or wait or whatever. So I said to the doula, we'll let you know whether or not we get admitted. That's why I didn't want to call you yet. So we'll let you know as soon as we know exactly what's going on. We get there.
1 centimeter?
2.
2?
She said you're probably 1 or 2 centimeters dilated.
Which means what? 1 centimeter an hour? I mean, it's going to be looking at 5
that's
to
what
7 hours.
that's what she told us. She said normally you dilate an average of 1 centimeter an hour. So they told us to go home for 4 hours and then come back. So,
all right, so let's cut through the nonsense. You call the doula. She's like, yep, told you so. Call me back in a few hours. We go home, and then me, logistical Dave, I'm like, we need McDonald's, because the last thing we want is to be like hungry while we're doing this. So we go to McDonald's drive-thru. We come home and I say, honey, you're gonna be in labor for a long time. I need to sleep, because at this point I haven't slept since like the previous day. You know what I mean? It's been like a day and a half, and I'm like, I'm not driving this car off the road. Like, so I took a nap. I wake up and I feel horrible about this, but I also don't regret it, because I needed to drive. My only job is to like hold your hand and drive you at that point. So I wake up from a sleep cycle. I look in the other room, you got the mantra music playing, you're just floating in the bathtub, like sweating, and I'm like, oh boy, did I miss the birth?
Yeah, no, so we got McDonald's on the way home from the hospital. So I was 1 to 2 centimeters. She said, give it 4 hours and come back. The timing was like we were going to go at 10:30. So it must have been like 6:30 when she told us that, when we were getting discharged from the hospital. And
which, by the way, we were told was the best time to go, because now we're going to get the well-rested people that just got off their weekend nurses. So that's kind of nice.
But anyway, we get McDonald's on the way home. I was having to, like, the contractions weren't like out of control or anything. Like, I wasn't in like horrific pain from when we were at the hospital the first time, but they were very obviously contractions. And so you had gotten me like a biscuit and an orange juice. I had like 1 bite of each of them. And then I was like, I'm not managing this well. Like, I need to go concentrate. And you went to sleep, and I got my headphones, I got my mantra out, and then I labored alone for the next 4 hours.
No, not that long. A sleep cycle.
We have the timestamps, babe.
Come on.
That's exactly what happened. And, I was fine with it, especially like in the beginning, because I knew you did need sleep and I didn't want to wake you. But
I want to reiterate, I'm not trying to sound like a diva. I just didn't want to fall asleep at the wheel.
We know.
Like, I don't want to be like, I need sleep for my beauty rest. No, I just like, you know what I mean? Like, we had a half an hour drive again.
No, and I will reiterate that I was fine with you I told you to get some sleep. But in those 4 hours, things really progressed. Like, it got really intense for me. And I think, in hindsight, I feel like I could have used your support there. It's okay. It was fine. It all worked out perfectly. But having to do a lot of the sort of mental gymnastics that you have to do with hypnobirthing was hard by myself. Like, I exhausted in those 4 hours all of my own tricks. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Not having someone coaching me through it and telling me, oh, why don't we try this now? Why don't we try that now? I think wore me down faster than probably we could have.
So at that moment.
So anyway, but I labored in the tub almost that whole time. I just knew that was where I was going to be most comfortable.
I'll play some of the videos, because I got some crazy good videos.
It looks
very like angelic.
It was It was good. And that's kind of what I wanted from the beginning. But like even the birthing center here doesn't offer water births. Like I think if you want to do a water birth, you kind of have to do it at home, which I wasn't prepared to do on our first baby. Like I wanted to be close to like, you know, emergency help in case something went wrong. But the tub was the greatest. I'm telling you, it's so good.
Lift your legs up. You can.
Even when the contractions were really intense, like around 11 a.m., it was okay. Like it was all right in the tub. Our doula came over around
So I wake up and like you're like doula's on the way. I'm like, oh boy.
Yeah, I had called her back or texted her because I was like, okay, things are getting pretty intense now, and I didn't want to wake you up, but I knew I needed some assistance.
By the way, shout her out, Amandine. We'll post a link in the description.
Mama Moon Doulas, just
follow
fantastic.
on Instagram. Even if you don't live in Nashville, still she offers good services.
Yeah. She's the sweetest little French lady, and
the French calm you down. Oh, it's a baby.
She's hosting a retreat next month or this month. I think there was like one that was going to be in French and one that was going to be in English on 2 separate weeks. But coming up very soon, if anybody is pregnant and wants to do a little French baby moon, it sounded really fun. I would have loved to have been there if
next time.
August could fly.
We'll time it next time.
Yeah.
So she shows up.
So she arrives around probably 10:40. And already the whole time, and this was probably not the right move, but the whole time I was in the tub, I was watching that clock. I was waiting for 10:30 to roll around so that we could go back to the hospital because, you know, as it starts to get more intense, it's like, okay, I just want to get there. Like, I want to get there.
She wasn't ready to
I want to get in our
you.
room. I want to, like, be able to, like, start using their tools. And, sorry, I have the hiccups. Like, using their ball and their bars and whatever, right? So I really was like, okay, I'm ready to get there. Like, I'm ready to go. She comes and she's like, oh, you look like you're doing really great. And that's what she was telling me because I had sent her a video. She would like asked me to send her a video. Like, I want to see what your contractions like right now. And so I sent her videos of contractions and like, you know, they were intense, but I was definitely managing. She's like, relax your face, whatever. It helps, right? But she gets here right after you wake up and I don't know for how long, she lets me sit in the tub and she's like, you know what, maybe we should, you know, maybe she can see that it's like getting a little more uncomfortable. She's like, let's try something else. Let's get out of the tub and let's try something else. I don't remember what she wanted to try, sit on the toilet or something. Pretty much the second I got out of that tub, it went from 0 to 100. Like, really, I was managing very well in that tub. Once I got out of the tub, I was not managing anymore.
She didn't want to freak you out, I could tell. But to me, she was like, we got to go. She was like, we have to go. But you were in so much pain. You were moving extremely slow.
Yeah, I couldn't and the contractions at that point were happening so quickly right on top of each other.
Yeah, every 5 steps you had to stop.
Yeah, it really, they started happening really, really fast. And so she was like, why don't you give me just 3 contractions on the toilet or whatever. I mean, it was so intense. And you were like, okay, we're going to the hospital. And I was like, okay, yeah, this makes sense. It's time for us to go to the hospital. But even just I'd get one pant leg on and it's like, okay, time out. I can't put this other pant leg on yet. I need to crouch.
And I'm not trying to rush you, but I'm like, come on.
Yeah, but I'm doing everything I can just to keep in the right headspace, on the side of the bed, just bent over, trying to get in a good position to manage the contraction. And so we get, everything is right. We get in the car within 5 or 10 minutes, right? But it did feel like forever. And it continues at that sort of insane intensity the whole car ride. I really was I remember kind of trying to hold on to something. I don't even know if your car has this thing, but I remember just being trying to find any position that was comfortable and just like, I felt like I was holding on for dear life. And I really started to think, we're not going to make it, because you kind of get like, I knew that both of you guys were like, oh shit. Like I could tell the energy shifted, right? The energy shifted from like, relax your face to like, go time. Like I was getting a lot of pressure from both of you.
She told me,
like,
she's like, don't speed,
go.
but I'm like going, 8 over, just like as quick as I can go. Just like, and it's not rush hour, but it's not 5 a.m. It's like, there's people on the road.
Yeah. And, you had joked like early on that you were going to put pee pads in the car in case my water broke on the drive. And my water didn't break on the drive, but I did throw up all over your car.
Throws up the McDonald's. Worst part is the bag I got her had a hole in it.
Yeah, you
so
handed
you're throwing
me a
up
barf
and then
bag,
it's just dripping.
and it was dripping out the bottom.
Which I didn't clean up for 3 days.
Yeah, I'm really sorry about that. But yeah.
No, but that's what, okay, so 28 minutes drive is the longest. It's like 10 hours long when you're trying to drive your pregnant wife to the airport. I mean, every minute was an hour. It really was slow. We finally get there, and then you were like getting out of the car, and you're trying to mop up your puke. I'm like, honey, get out of here. Have a kid. What are you doing?
It's kind of like when you were in the car accident and you were like cleaning up the coffee.
When
like
I got in a car accident,
just...
my car tipped and coffee went everywhere, and I was trying to clean the coffee up of the dash, and then I had to crawl out the window because the whole car was destroyed. And I was like, turns out I wasn't thinking clearly. So for you, don't have to clean.
Yeah, no, it felt like, I'm thinking back and I'm like, the car ride felt long, but it also felt short at the same time. It's like, so you're in such a time where, and
bring him in.
I'll bring him in.
Bring him right in. I'll keep talking. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a baby. Can you believe it? This story has proof. We're going to show the work, folks. Not only do we have a birthing story, but we have a baby too. So let's see what baby August has to say. I got to tell you, we got this old basset hound barking nonstop. Can barely walk. Our baby can't walk. Everybody's in diapers. Here he is, ladies and gentlemen, the man of the hour.
The star of the show.
The star of the show.
The star of the show.
August Coleman Neal, who, by the way, as far as the story is concerned, won't be named for another 3 days.
Yes.
He wasn't named for at least 2 days of birth.
We were so unsure.
All right, so we get to the doctor. We go back to the triage. You're like, all right, they're gonna see me. Still.
I honestly, I really thought we were gonna have the baby in the car. It's weird how it was fine and then it wasn't.
But you did then stall it a little bit in the car after all of that.
I think so. Yeah, I think that things slowed down a little bit, but they were still it was. I don't know. I mean, it was very intense. Like even when they were trying to check us in, I was like, don't make me get out my ID again. You've seen me 3 times in 2 weeks. You know what I mean?
You get we look like we went to Coachella. We got all the bracelets. So we get there.
But I literally,
we go to triage.
at check-in, I couldn't even talk to them at the window. I had to go to the bench and bend over.
I had all your stats ready.
Yeah.
I had your license, your date of birth.
So I don't think it really slowed down in the car. But we get into triage, get on the table. I'm like, check me, get me in.
Oh yeah, you had kind of vomit on you. You looked.
I did.
Well, you had. I mean, it was more like wet spots.
Yeah.
Your water hadn't broken, but you had your vomit was really mainly just liquids.
Yeah.
It wasn't disgusting. It was just you were sweating and there was a lot.
Yeah.
So we check you in. They get you started to test, and you're only still at 5.
5 centimeters. 5 centimeters.
And that looked pretty deflating to you.
Oh my God. I was like, how is this possible that I'm only 5 centimeters? And Amandine, she's a genius. I guess she's seen a lot of these births. She was like, she didn't tell me this until after, but she was like, she asked me, can you wait 30 more minutes? She said, can you wait 30 more minutes? And in my head, I'm like, absolutely not. I can't wait 1 more minute. I'm in so much, yes, of course I was in pain, but I wasn't managing it anymore. no amount of like meditation was helping me at this point. I really was like, I guess sort of in a state of like fear and confusion, right? It's like, how on earth am I only 5 centimeters? And I just threw up this whole way here and it feels like I'm gonna have this baby right now. But that was transition, and that's what Amandine told us.
I'm listening, but I'm gonna check this.
In like our previous meetings, or maybe maybe it was in our hypnobirthing course, but someone told us that you shouldn't be disappointed if you're not progressing. So what one of our coaches had told us, and maybe it was our hypnobirthing coach, told us, like, don't be disappointed if you're not progressing, like dilating as fast as you thought, you know, if it seems too slow. Someone told us that, like, your body can really only do one thing at a time. So when you're giving birth, right, you're dilating, you're effacing, and you're dropping. So like your station is changing, your effacement is thinning, right? And you're dilating. So I think that what had happened based on our next check was that I fully effaced and fully dropped and hadn't fully dilated. And so yeah, in my head, I was remembering what our nurse from earlier, from our first visit, had told us, which is that you dilate on average 1 to 1.5 centimeters per hour. And I was like, absolutely not. Am I waiting 2 more hours to get admitted to the birthing center? I need help now. And so I was like, put me in labor and delivery. I'm not waiting for the birthing center 1 second longer. Amandine did say, could you wait 30 more minutes? She was right, because by the time they wheeled us to labor and delivery, which was only 20 minutes later, 30 minutes later, it must have been 20 minutes. I was a 9. I dilated to a 9, basically from the time they checked me to the time they wheeled us to labor and delivery. And
then when they checked you at 9 is when your water broke.
So basically we get
your water not breaking is what held up everything else.
Oh,
yeah.
I don't know. So basically we're in triage. They have to monitor you for 20 or 30 minutes. They, everything looked good. They took us to labor and delivery. We already had the anesthesiologist ready. I was like, give me the drugs. And he came in. Oh, and he had like a student with him.
Yeah, they just bring in people.
He had a student with him. And I'm really, you know, I'm doing all the management I can still. And, you know, the contractions are still coming. Literally, they're lasting for like a minute, and they're coming every minute and a half or 2 minutes. So we're very much in transition.
And by the way, the anesthesiologist was the first male. And yeah, didn't have the warmth that the women had.
No,
I was kind of like, who is this guy? I mean, he was fine.
I never even saw his face, to be honest. I have no recollection of anyone's face until after I got that epidural. I couldn't look at anyone in the eye. Like I was doing everything I could to manage at that point. And but I remember him telling his student, like, oh, she's 5 centimeters dilated. Like, that's why, you know, we have to wait until her contraction's over to give her this shot so she can stay still or to, you know, do whatever. And that's like why she has the shakes and is sweaty, like blah, blah, blah. Like,
yeah,
that's
he's like explaining all of your trauma to the kid. And I'm like, hey, pipe down. She can hear you. Put some earbuds.
But I remember they like told me to like hold on to the nurse. I have no idea who that nurse was. Never saw her, like, unless it was the girl that was still there after. But I was like holding on to her, like, here for like dear life while they gave me that epidural.
This is the beauty of humanity. You just trust people because they're all there and you don't have any other options. There's no like, let me Yelp if this nurse is any good. All right, I got you. Like, you're vulnerable. And you, I think, really thrived with that because you just like...
Well, I couldn't overthink it anymore.
Yeah.
I was like, so.
You were like pure reptilian mode.
Yes, you're exactly right. That's exactly it. Because really why I didn't want an epidural in the first place was because I was afraid of it. You know, that's really why I did not want one. But at that point, the labor was so intense that all cards are off the table. You know, like all bets are off. I'm ready. Like I'll do what I need to do to be in a better place right now. And yeah, the epidural kicked in right away. It 100% slowed down the labor. We would have had that baby within 30 minutes.
Yeah, this was like
if
before
I had
lunchtime
not
at this
gotten
point.
the epidural. But it slowed down the labor, but it was fine. It gave me a chance to rest. I had a little nap.
Fast forward 8 hours or 7. Basically from noon to 7,
Hi,
you were
sweetheart.
like resting, laughing. They gave you some bone broth. It was kind of like, it really slowed things down.
Yeah, it really slowed things
Which,
down.
if I knew that, I would have gone and gotten us some food. But meanwhile, I was eating like little granola bites. Being like, all right, baby's almost there. 8 hours later, when's this thing coming? I thought we were doing it. Like, puke in my car. And then they just know when things are ready to go. And then they make a little phone call. I love the logistics of it. And then they bring in a different nurse. The earlier nurse is like very competent, but then they bring in the nurse who like is the pushing nurse. There must be a term for the pushing nurse. Because she's like, you got this, girl, push now. And you're like, whoa, I'm pushing too. Like, I'm like breathing with you. I mean, they really brought.
And then when it's really time when you're crowning, then they bring in like the whole team. Then they have people there holding your feet. Like I had someone on each side, just like.
There was women that I think they were on break. They just came in and started watching. There's a whole break area. I was like, when did the vending machine? They had a vending machine. Some guy was selling Cracker Jacks. I was like, we're at a baseball game. And then the doctor shows up. And she would periodically come in every few hours. But what did it feel like that your doctor wasn't there that day? You had a new doctor.
It was okay. I was a little.
Like if you knew in hindsight, you probably would have been stressed. If you knew 2 days before.
If I knew prior, yeah.
But in the moment, they're like, it's a different doctor, and you immediately meet her, super competent.
I loved her. I absolutely loved her. And, when I was looking at this OBGYN, at this practice, I knew there was a chance that I wasn't going to get my first choice of doctor. So I really went through the list, and I did research on every doctor there. So I had like 4 that I was interested in maybe having be my doctor, and I think she was on that list. And yeah, when I met her, she was great. I knew immediately. And I think Amandine too, because she attends so many births, she knew what my priorities were for how I wanted birth to go. And I think she knew this doctor and knew that it was going to be fine. She knew that this wasn't a doctor who was going to pressure me to do anything differently than how I wanted to do it. And she gave me great vibes from the moment she walked in. And I did really rely on Amandine, even though we now had an epidural and we were no longer, trying to have an unmedicated birth. I really relied on her input and expertise when with everything that they were suggesting with what they wanted. So she was the one who suggested is it okay if we just labor down for a little while? They sat me up. They wanted the baby to drop the last station before we started pushing. She didn't want me to start pushing too soon. You were really good at
laboring with the pulling. You pull certain things, and they had different things to just get you going, because for the first few real pushes, when you started really pushing, you can't feel it, and you just weren't doing good. They were we need to teach you.
Well, do you remember those first few pushes? So I had been laboring down for an hour, but what happens with an epidural is it follows gravity. So my ankles, they sat me up in, what do they call it? A throne position. And the epidural had gone out of my abdomen. So when they were asking me to push, it was really painful, but only in my abdomen. It was not, I couldn't feel anything down there, but I could feel my abdomen. So they like adjusted my epidural or whatever. I laid down for a few minutes while it like resettled in my abdomen, and then we tried pushing again. And you're right, maybe it was still not good pushes after that. It was really like I could feel my contractions, so I could push with like my contractions timing wise. But you just don't know what you're doing. It's very odd. Like I was explaining to my sister how I like bought us that folded up squatty potty for the birthing center because I knew that like they call the toilet the dilation station because, you know, it's the same sort of like muscles that you use for going number 2 that you use for pushing. And so like you can't, it's like your brain your body just knows when you're sitting on the toilet that these are the muscles that are supposed to work, but your body doesn't know that anywhere else. But that's when they introduced the mirror. The mirror really helped. The mirror
I gotta
was
tell you, like I was up close and personal, and we you know, we're mature adults. I wasn't afraid to. I mean, you know, this idea like of a husband not wanting to watch. Are you kidding me? You know, that's such like a juvenile, like immature, fear-based way of thinking, I think. But like
maybe if they're squeamish.
But then they're going. They have this moment where they go, we can see the baby's head.
That's right. That's him. That's his head. Oh my God.
And I'm like, even with a spotlight shine down the tunnel, I don't know what they're looking at, because I'm like, if that's because, you know, the skull's moving, and I'm just like, please let that not be my child. Like, what is that? And because I didn't even know what side of the head they were even. I had just you almost imagine the baby's coming out like forehead first. I don't know why, and it's like the exact opposite. And you see that, and then you're able to see. And
that was really encouraging. It was really encouraging to see his head.
Like, at some point, this much of his head was really back here. Like literally, like a third of his whole entire head is out.
Yeah.
For like a half an hour, and that's where I'm getting nervous, because I'm looking around going, are we cool with this? And of course, they have the vitals. The baby didn't raise his heart rate.
Yeah, he was good.
He was cool as a cucumber.
You were so smart.
I mean, I raised my heart rate. Luckily, they didn't have vitals on me. I was like, can I get some medication here?
You knew exactly what to do.
He knew what to do.
Yeah.
And then it took so long. There were several pushes where you can see the baby kind of move and like ebb and flow.
Yeah, well, that's exactly it. It's like forward 2 centimeters, back 1. Like, it's like a very slow progression. You can.
And not to be gross, but they're literally pulling at his hair.
Yes.
And I'm like, easy does it, you know?
Don't pull his hair.
And they're, you know, using a liters of olive oil.
Yeah.
And really, I mean, I have a real sort of gripe with modern medicine, and I'm kind of like dismissive of it. That doctor knew what she was doing.
Oh, yeah.
She was massaging and stretching you out in every way possible.
Yeah.
And you didn't tear, so she clearly
knew
did
what
a
she
really
was
good
doing.
job.
Yeah.
And not to take this story over, but this is kind of where I got the front row seat. And once the nose is out, he's out. Because they were like, well, we got to be ready to get the shoulders one at a time.
Yeah, she had.
Nope.
They knew that you
1
wanted to
second
catch.
later, whole baby.
And she had said, we're just going to make sure we're going to get his shoulders out, and then you can catch him.
Now,
basically.
what we learned later on was he was 98th percentile head, big dome.
That's why it took so long.
So the rest of everything else came out like a minnow. He was like a Teletubby.
Such a big head.
And I checked the game tape, and I didn't drop him like I thought I might have, but we kind of had to like flop him right over to you. Tell me, were you surprised? Like, could you feel the birth? Like, were you surprised when the baby came out? Like, oh my gosh, that's him. Like, what were you feeling?
No, I mean, it all happened so fast. I knew, those final few pushes, every time I thought, this is it. Like, every time I thought, this is the one, it was like, we're so close, we're right on the brink. Like, every time I thought, like, this is it, this is it. So, yeah, you can definitely, like, feel and see and whatever, like, when he comes out, and everyone's, like, the whole room, like, hoots and hollers. Like everyone's so excited, right? And then they put him on my chest, and immediately it was like the waterworks
He
for
didn't
me.
cry right away, which I think he was pretty normal. You know, and to be quite honest, it was probably like only 5 seconds later, but it felt like a minute.
But, you know,
because you're waiting for him to adapt.
All of our hypnobirthing prep, they told us that babies don't necessarily like scream and wail right away. You know, that that didn't concern me because
I wasn't concerned so much as when it happened. I was like, whew. And of course, I was just like as a dad, I'm looking at him going, are we good? Is everything good? Just scanning things. I knew you were good because the doctors were like taking care of you still. When he's born and as he's being lifted onto you, he's pooping.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
you see this,
Everyone
like,
was like wiping me up after. I
People
think
were,
I
like,
had
happy,
poop all over
and
me.
no one wanted you to know because like you couldn't tell. So like everyone's like, "Yay, there's poop!" There like two things were happening. Like squeegees were going.
I knew.
You had a big
Yeah,
pooper.
they told me that he had kind of pooped all over. I think he pooped like 3 times on me.
Yeah,
Right?
He was busy.
They definitely.
And they kind of scrubbed him and kind of I think they were trying to wake him up, really.
Yeah.
And then that's it. Everything that happened after that kind of fell into place, but when it's supposed to work out, I guess if they like as far as like the medical world goes, they probably would consider it a super average standard pregnancy.
Birth. Yeah.
Everything fell right into the.
That's how I felt about it. I mean, really, like, we had our birth plan. We had what we wanted, but we also had prepared ourselves mentally for, like, things don't always go to plan. So, like, we're also going to be okay with going with the flow. And, like, oh, he's hungry. With, like, these are our preferences. And, I want to feed him soon. Let's wrap him up. These are our preferences, and we're going to try and get what we want if we can. But I think we did a really good job of like preparing ourselves mentally, and like all of the hypnobirthing prep and like having the doula there, all of that was so valuable, even without an unmedicated birth. Like, really, I had my like mantras going the whole time.
Yeah, like you don't have a sister who lives here and you needed someone there that wasn't me. I could do I probably could have handled it, but she definitely helped way more than I could have. She was an expert.
She was a lot more.
She was someone you could trust, and you need
very knowledgeable.
Yeah, you need someone you can trust. Huh, Bubba? So here we are. We got our baby. He's ready to eat. What can we say? What can we say to our son here?
It was perfect.
What can we say to our son here?
Yeah, I feel so good. I feel so good about our birth. I really feel like
I'll take that.
it was perfect. It all worked out perfectly.
Yeah. And I think as far as the first month goes, maybe we'll do a separate video, but like I think we've hung in there. I think we've just taken it day by day.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And we're taking it day by day. Every day we wake up, and how can you not feel amazing seeing a healthy little boy?
Yeah.
Huh.
And he's so cute.
He's so cute. He seems sweet. Personality-wise, tough. Tough to know. Not stubborn. Maybe a little. He's I'm saying a little on the needy side. He'll wake up and move his arms around to try to make sure there's a body near him. He'll be like, "Where is that?" Oh, okay. Won't you?
No,
But he sleeps
he's
great.
not needy. That's normal.
He sleeps great.
He needs our comfort.
All right. Well, August. And then we didn't name him right away. I still have a hard time remembering his name.
We
I'm
literally waited until we were walking out the
think I'm
hospital, and they're
dyslexic.
like, "You have to name your baby."
Yeah, and I had to name him with like a little pencil, and like there's no like nice.
I was
quill pen.
concerned about your penmanship.
Yeah, typo. Your middle name's Typo. August Coleman Neal. That's who you are. And he chose us.
sure is cute. And I don't mind having a little Velcro baby. I mean, can I pee or eat or drink anything? No, but I get to hold my baby.
Well worth it.
Yeah.
There he is. There he is, folks. The Prince. August. Let him sit right there.
Babe, he can't sit.
There he is. All right, we're done. There's your birth story. Give me a kiss.
Did we remember everything?
I think so.
I think so.
I mean, that
The day you were born.
that first hour, I mean,
Your
he's holding our
birthday.
hands, his grip's strong. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. They let us alone with him, which was nice, but also terrifying. I was like, you're just going to leave us alone with this kid?
And that first night, he was like cluster feeding so much. I could barely stay awake, but everything just worked out perfectly, right? Worked out perfectly. He knew exactly what to do.
You know, you were made for this. There he
All right,
is.
give him back to me.
There he is. Look at the child.
Give him back to
Yo! He's the king of the world.
me. Your daddy's so silly.